Moving on to the other big story, amid strained diplomatic ties between India and Canada, a big statement has come from top ministers of Canada once again. Bilk Blair, Canadian Defence Minister, now waded in and doubled down on the credible information linked to Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar's killing. Meanwhile, to ease the diplomatic tensions, the Canadian minister also described relationship with India important, and Canada will continue to pursue partnerships like the Indo-Pacific strategy. Defence Minister Blair said, and I quote, "We understand that this can be a challenging issue with respect to our relationship with India, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we conduct a thorough investigation and get to the truth." The statement comes days after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau kicked up a massive diplomatic row between the two countries over the murder of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. All right, let's go straight across to Suresh Goel, who is a former ambassador, joining us on this important story. Mr. Goel, thank you for joining us on Mirror Now. You know, tensions between India and Canada is only escalating. Now, Canada has reaffirmed that it has credible evidence pertaining to these allegations of India's hand in death of Khalistani terrorists, and that it had shared this information. Now, India, of course, has denied having received any such information. Now, how do you view this escalating diplomatic tension between the two countries, especially in view of the recent statements and counter statements being made by some of the top ministers in Canada?
Very unfortunate. In fact, the whole thing snowballed immediately after Trudeau made the statement on the floor of the parliament, which was actually not at all required or necessary at all, keeping in mind what the objective was. If the objective for Trudeau was to essentially see who and what actually led to assassination of Nijjar, even though knowing the background of Nijjar, that was hardly required, really speaking, unless Trudeau really wanted to pick up a diplomatic and political row with India, which is what it seems to be. So it was strictly not necessary, and I don't think that having picked it up once and having taken it to this kind of a step, it is going to die down very soon, anytime soon. But in the process, the statements which keep coming from the Canadian ministers actually aggravate the issue even further. The need, I think, at this time is to basically quieten down. The thing is there on the table. Rather than making noise in the public all the time, let it be really. I'm quite certain that sooner or later, this will be dealt with through diplomatic conversations between the countries involved. And when I say countries involved, I'm not meaning only Canada and India. There are others like I5 who are there and who actually shared the information. On what basis, I do not know. So I think we need to give it a bit of a rest, really, and let it be, and let diplomatic channels quietly take care of it.
Right. Mr. Goel, my next question, of course, is, Indian government has also gone further and, blasted Canada for supposedly hosting a nexus of terrorism, serving as a safe haven for extremism, organized crime, and so on. So these are big statements being made from both sides. So a lot of murmur on how all these could lead to repercussions, especially with respect to Indian people living and working in Canada. So how is this escalating tension going to perhaps impact Indians living there?
See, once Trudeau had raised the subject in the parliament, obviously the government of India will retaliate. It is going to spiral up, etc., etc. So for the next few days, maybe a week or 2 weeks also, I can't really say how long, we should expect escalation. We should expect spiraling up of this in the media, etc., etc. When I said previously, let it be dealt with through the diplomatic channel, I meant specifically in regard to the so-called credible allegations that Trudeau talked about. So this is going to stay in the media. But I'm certain, I'm quite certain really, that you mentioned students, you mentioned the other important real issues of the relationship, parts of the relationship. The students who are there in Canada, they will continue to stay there. They have chosen the universities. There could be temporary kind of disruptions, not in terms of studies, but they will need to be careful wherever they are. But I'm quite certain that by next year, these things really would settle down, the dust would settle down, and they would have basically started to feel again as the norm is.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Goel. You're saying that this has to be dealt through diplomatic channels, and as far as Indians living there are concerned, there could be minor disruptions at this point, but things would settle down. Thank you for joining us with all your thoughts.
Thank you.